Hey family, thank you for tuning into Our Roots podcast with Joseph Baba Ifa, where only the strongest roots see the light, and it is brought to you by Botanica Candles and More. And if you haven't had the opportunity, please tap on that subscribe button and hit that like button. Live Q&A on all things Ifa, Lukumi, and Santeria this evening. And joining me is the podcast doctor, Mr. Phil Bird.
Hi there. You won't see my face, but I am here.
Oh, and if you're looking for podcasts, assistance, rejuvenation, definitely hit up Phil. You can't miss him, podcast doctor. He works wonders, and we appreciate him greatly here.
Thank you, man. Thank you. How you been?
I'm good. I'm rocking the hat today, so you know it's for real.
I like it.
Everything's fabulous, man. Good week. Had a couple things going on. Was with some clients from California this week. They did a bunch of work, so it's nice to be able to wind down and get a nice session in.
Nice. Well, everybody, if you're in the chat, please say hi. We got some people already. You know, they're from New Jersey.
Orlando, blessings. Shout out to Brick City, man. New Jersey.
Yeah, we got someone from Ohio.
We love Ohio. Cleveland, Miss Nadia, thank you.
Yeah. So if you are in the chat, say hey, say hi, and then we got a couple questions. So
let's get it.
All right, here we go. Here we go. First one. Boom.
Orlando, Arana. Iboru boy bochiche, baba. Iboru, Orlando. Can you speak on Otura Irete? Why is this Odu associated with the Arabs or the Arabic culture? Orlando, first and foremost, this Odu holds a very special place to me because I am Irete Otura. So I'm Otura Irete backwards. So it's really interesting. When I actually was going to do Ifa, I basically did a reading a couple months before I went into the room. And this was the Odu that was revealed for me, where my godfather said, hey, you're getting closer to going in. These are the things you need to incorporate and do. And I did. And then when I actually did Ifa, I came with the same sign backwards, Irete Otura. So one of the first signs I studied when I got initiated was Otura Irete. It's also known as Otura Tiyu or Otura Lalemu. And I have to say it's an Odu that I know as well as my own because most of the time, a lot of solutions the person is going to find might not be in their sign, but in the sign backwards. And it's known as the Omoiya. So why is this Odu so heavily associated with Arabic culture? Because anytime you see a sign that has a leg of Otura, it's a descendant of Otura Meji in some format. And in that Odu was where Oduduwa lost the caliphate or was a khalifa. Apart from that, Odumila was a practicing Muslim. And even before then, he was a member of the indigenous Arab culture in the Middle East and, you know, a lot of Northern Africa when it expanded. And then another interesting thing is Otura Tiyu. Now, if this person has Hand of Ifa, it might be a little bit different than if they're a Ba'alao. But either way, it says the person has an Arabic spirit that walks with them. Maybe Muslim, may not be. But there is an asistencia that's done where you get a glass of water and you put an egg in it. I'm trying to recall whether it has the yolk or if it is just the egg white. And then at noon, you present it to the sun, invoking all of those energies, and then it lives in the highest part of your home. And, you know, I would imagine you change it on a weekly basis because egg doesn't last that long. But it's for spiritual elevation. It's to gather that energy of the sun, and then apart from that, elevate that spirit that's with the person for enlightenment or progress within their spiritual goals. So that's why you're going to see Otura Tiyu, just like Irete Suka, has a high, Arabic connotation. And I tell you, with this beard, I think I'm playing the part. I'm ready for the Sahara.
Wow. Before we get into the next few questions, what I'm going to do, I'll probably put the main screen in because they come flooding in. I can't even keep up on here. They're so
beautiful.
fast. But why don't we tell everybody a little bit about what's to come? You know, we're going to be adding some new features to
Absolutely.
the YouTube page, and, you know, it could help out, you know, a lot of people.
So, guys, we have a bunch of new things coming up, and one of the most exciting ones is definitely going to be our membership program. So time and time again, you know, like Phil was just saying, we get flooded with questions and we definitely want to be able to respond to everyone, but that doesn't always happen. So to be able to give you guys an option to where you can have direct access to me and be able to clarify all the doubts we may have about Ifa and Orisha, we're setting up the membership program. And it's going to look like a 3-tier setup where you're gonna have different levels with different levels of access to us and our resources. From what I understand, it's gonna have a monthly stipend associated with it, and we're gonna have great things in there, whether it's access to me, discounts on merchandise or services, a lot of really interesting stuff, and we're gonna be having that menu out very soon.
If they join the highest tier, they actually get to see my face. That's the best.
I don't know. We might have to add a little bit more.
That's the best perk for the highest tier. They actually get to see what I look like.
Add a little bit more, but that is a bonus though. I don't have to pay for that. I get to see Phil indirect, so
All right, so I'm going to put the chat on the actual screen here so we can kind of roll down the list here. So you
Yes,
ready?
sir.
All right, here we go. All right, so let's go up to this one. This one was before we started.
All right, so we have Ahmad. Any info? Ahmad, thank you for watching. Any info on Osatrupong? Osatrupong is an Odu that says the ram did not want to go into the corral, and what happened is there was a ram that was very hard-headed and didn't like to take the advice of the farmer, and the farmer was always telling him at night, please come into the corral so that you don't face all of the negativities that there are in nature. But the ram didn't listen. And then one night when he was actually getting attacked by wolves because he thought he was the baddest guy on the farm, that he could handle everything, he tried to get back into the corral and he didn't, right? This Odu of Osatrupong says the person has to have a lot of humility, has to be very receptive to advice, and ultimately the person may be teeter-tottering as to whether to get initiated or initiated further. Osatrupong is an Odu where the person has to penetrate themselves fully because the corral represents the protection that Ifa and Orisha provides, and the farmer represented Orumila and Orisha.
All right, here we go. Next one. I highlighted it.
Hey there from Connecticut. Can you have a topic on the Ibeji twins? Absolutely. We're going to be doing an episode on the Ibeji. If you know a good set of twins that, want to get interviewed, please let us know. We're looking into this topic definitely, but ultimately on Our Roots podcast, we're going to be doing videos and sessions on every Orisha. So we're definitely going to delve into them because the Ibeji is a beautiful concept, especially when you look at the divine expression of Nigeria and Yoruba land having the largest per capita quantity of twins born, and some people say it's based on the yam being the fundamental part of their diet.
Shout outs to people in Harlem.
Oh, we love Harlem. Uptown. Ache. Shout out to Amazing Tune. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Next question there.
All right. Can we talk about Otura Nico, please? What is the advice you would give someone with this Odu? Otura Nico is somebody that really has to have elders or study habits that is going to be able to calm them, right? Or their doubts. Because Otura Nico is actually Otura Oriko, which means Otura Oriko, or Otura bashes his head against the wall. And what it's saying is that the person has to have clear information and explanation to be able to make correct decisions in their life so that they're not wasting and losing time. Otura Riko also has to have a lot of humility and listen, because Otura Riko is somebody that, has a preconceived notion that they're knowledgeable or that they know what's going on, even when they've just begun this spirituality. So Otura Riko has to study a lot, but depending on their level or rank, they need to be stimulated by their elders so that they're not delving into taboo. And another thing is, Otura Riko has to be very careful with their temper, because due to their frustration, they can become aggressive or they can leave the faith altogether. So,
shout outs to Music Lover. Hello from Chicago.
Oh man, Chirac, man. Shout out to Music Lover 29.
And
Thank
James, shout out from North Carolina.
Oh, James, North Carolina. We love North Carolina.
And we got from upstate New York.
Oh, the bricks were living in upstate New York. Shout out to Nani.
All right, here we go. Another question here.
Hope all is prosperous with you and yours. Thank you so much, Paradox. Luckily it is. Oboato. What is the meaning of Odiche and its numbers 5-7? So interesting here. So when we talk about the letter Odi, it's associated with the number 7, and Oshe is associated with the number 5. So you mentioned Odiche, but you showed 5-7, which is actually Oshedi. So basically, it's a concept where one is one way and the opposite is the other way. Odiche and Oshedi. That's where the numbers come from. What happens is in the Afro-Cuban Lukumi di Logun, It was innovated to take out a double letter to be able to preserve Ifa or emulate Ifa. Incoherent and as well as traditional dilogun casting, it's a singular letter. And technically, even till this day, it is, because the second letter that you're seeing there is a ghost letter that's thrown by the Oriate to be able to amplify the conversation. So that's where the numbers come in comparison to the names.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Can you explain the difference between Bokono Fa priest and Ifa Babalawo? Hello, Kwezi. Nice to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in. The Bokono of Fa is associated with the practice of Fa, which is the oracular system from Benin or Dahomey, right? And Afro-Cuban Lukumi Ifa has huge influences from this clan. That's why you're going to see a lot of similarities, right? When we talk about Babalawo, who practice Ifa in Yoruba land within Nigeria, I mean, even though I haven't experienced Fa as much as maybe I'd like to, being that it's not my practice, from what I understand, Fa was even around before Ifa to a certain degree, because some people say that Odudua originally was from Benin, and his name was Ekelat Dehang, and was a practitioner of Vodun or of the cult of the Sky Kings or the Ogid So or something of that, if I recall. So that's the difference between them. When we talk about the influence of the Bokonos within Ifa, there was a very famous Babalao named Norberto Noriega, who was Ogunda Meji, who was well known for bringing over the Egungun cult to Cuba, and also innovating the Ibole Egun, which was the tile and things of that nature. But also the Bokonos can be found in the Odu of Osheyekun, where Orumila had to call upon them to be able to, basically fill in numbers, because Lukumi or, Yoruba land Babalaos were sparse. And those people were very proficient at dominating their oracle. You're going to see a lot of similarities. You're definitely going to see some differences, but ultimately they're our family.
All right. Shout out to Christian from Colorado.
Christian, thank you so much. What's poppin'? Yeah.
All right. Next question here.
Perry Smith, thank you so much. What initiation is recommended first if someone has an interest in Ifa and Palo Mayombe? Very nice, Perry. So 2 completely different religions, right? It depends on which one you're interested in more first. So in Cuba, where these 2 spiritualities really grew side by side, usually what would occur is that once Ifa really began to perpetuate itself throughout the island, a lot of elderly Palo priests would actually have people receive their hand of Ifa first, to see if they were, compatible spiritually at the moment with the initiation into Palo. Now, you have more rustic, lineages of Palo who really don't interact with Ifa at all. And that's perfectly fine, because once again, they're 2 completely separate religions that, operate parallel to each other, but they really should never intertwine. So it's not a defining factor. You really have to identify which one you're more interested in. If Ifa calls you more, definitely receive your hand of Ifa. But if you're digging Palo more at the moment, jump into Palo. And that way, I would say it really depends, because some people might want to do Palo just because it's the thing to do rather than it being their passion. And maybe they want that confirmation from Orumila, because if the person comes with an Odu like Otura Ira, where the prenda of Sarabanda was born, or Ikameji, where it speaks of the brujos, or, even Obewenye, that Ifa might be telling you to lean towards that to fulfill. But if not, jump right in, and, as long as you have good elders, salam alongo.
All right, this one, this is from Robert. This is hi from Arizona.
Hello. I've had Santeros in my family, but grew up Catholic. How would I go about getting more immersed?
And learn about Santeria.
Definitely Our Roots podcast. You've taken a great step by watching us. I grew up Catholic by birth, even though I'm from a place where, all the Catholics were Babalaos and Santeros and Hialeah. Definitely we recommend ifalinks.com, which, distributes the information published by Chief Popola, as well as his crew. Those are probably the 2 resources as far as literature, audio, and visual that I can recommend with certainty. Now, mind you, there's a lot of information out there. I haven't had a chance to read much of it simply because I trust too much in my sources, and I'm really just about studying that which is legitimate. So those are the 2 things for the uninitiated that they can immediately start learning and not have to unlearn anything. or sift through information.
Okay, let's throw this one because Jay Grizzy really wants you to answer this question here.
Oh man, shout out to Jay. Blessings. Loved your Ochosi video. Thank you so much. From Miami, shout out. Info on Ikafung, please. Oh man, Ikafung. Someone I love very much has this Odu. I will say a couple points about Ikafung is Ikafung really has to figure themselves out. You need to identify what your goals are, and then Orumila will follow, right? Of course, the Guardian Orisha is going to play a huge role. But in Ikafung was where the 16 laws of Ifa were born. The 16 commandments of Ifa. Never lie to a brother, never betray a brother, have knowledge before you conduct a ceremony, etc. And these were the guidelines that the Babalaos and religious people asked Orula and Olodumare for to be able to lead decent and progressive lives. So the first thing I have to say to Ikafung is look over that literature, delve into it, identify what it is that you want. And, if they have all of the prerequisites, a man there could become a Babalao or an Olorisha, or the person can do whatever they want within the spirituality of Ifa. They just need to see what resonates with them. But Ikafung pretty much has an open path. And, for the man specifically there, definitely have your romantic life in order, because in that sign was where death came disguised as a woman and cursed the man. So Ifa says in this Odu, we need to be very organized in our personal lives with any of the women, whether it's mom, whether it's a daughter, whether it's our wives. We have to make sure that the feminine aspects of our male lives are happy.
Wow, that kind of makes some sense here. Here's another question that's maybe similar.
Hello, blessings from Queens. Yeah. Oh, how you doing, Rich? Any advice for married couples initiated under the same ile? Not so much advice for the initiated as much as the people that initiated them. I'm in quite a few situations where I've initiated married couples and couples. The most important thing that a married couple needs within their ile is ethics. So if my godson comes to me and he's like, Padrino, I need to relay this bit of information to you because I need your advice on it, I need to have the ethic to be able to maintain that private, and also be able to hear the other aspect, which may be his partner or his wife coming to me and saying a contrasting piece of information. Orumila was the great divide. Orumila was the great, man of ethics. He only knew how to be discreet. So I would say for those that are initiated in an ile as a married couple, make sure your elders respect that privacy and ethics so that it doesn't create a very tumultuous culture. No one needs to know your business.
All right, here we go. This is from El Brujo. All right, I got scratched. Now what?
Oh, El Brujo, thank you so much, brother. We were dialoguing a little bit earlier. You got scratched, congratulations, salam alaikum, it really depends on the position you received, whether it was in Gayo or whether it was as Tata Inkisi Malongo. If it was in Gayo and you're trying to reach the level of Tata, definitely you want to be around your Tata, you want to be interacting, you want to learn, you want to be obedient, you want to be studious, you want to show effort so that you can grow. If you were scratched Tata at that point, we have to make sure the prenda's right, we got to make sure we're learning how to interact with it. And depends how deep you want to delve into Palo, because at that point you're learning, you're possibly initiating people, or maybe you're maxed out in Palo and you did Palo just to be spiritually good before you did Ifa or Orisha. So at that point, the world is yours. It's just a matter of what your goals and desires are and then start working towards them.
Okay. So Jenny wants to know what happens if you miss an Ibo.
There's really no such thing as missing an Ebo, Jenny. Blessings, mihala. You want to get your Ebo done in the most timely, fashion possible, but you really can't miss an Ebo because the Odu Ochepaure says, until we do what was marked first, we can't do what's marked next. So there's really no such thing as missing an Ebo, but you want to make sure that you get them done in a timely fashion because the Ebos technically have no time limit. If it's pending, it's pending.
So we got Orlando, Atlanta, Chicago.
Oh, man.
And even live from Hawaii.
Oh, that's awesome. Shout out to Hawaii.
All right. Next question we got here.
Kwezi, once again, thank you, brother. How many lineages is combined to create the Lukumi Bahalawo system? That is an amazing question. I remember when I became Babalawo within the Lukumi system, my good friend, one of my teachers, Lasarito Fumbile me and him began to discuss this because we were comparing our Ifa to the Sheshe Ifa that's most popularly done now. And even then, there's so many ways to even conduct that ceremony. So what happened is in the diaspora, when all these different clans were sold and traded into slavery, we're talking about babalaos that never interacted with each other before reaching Cuba. So when, clans were decimated and people had to interact with each other, when they were recognizing each other as babalaos, they got together and they're like, hey man, we have to kind of reconstruct what we were doing over there. So they had a council and they said, how would you guys do it? Or how would you guys do it? And they started picking the best pieces that fit together and were most important. And they basically constructed the Afro-Cuban Ifa. So you're going to see a lot of influence from Benin, like we were talking about, and the Bokonos and Fa, which are, some people would say, our spiritual ancestors or brothers, A lot of Oyo influence, heavily Oyo influenced, which even reflects in our Odisha initiation. And then a lot from Oshobo, and Oshun State and all those guys over there. Ibadan, huge influence as well in the Afro-Cuban Ifa. To the point where you see guys over there even wearing the green and yellow necklace because they apply the concept of Obeate, where Ochun gave Orula the yellow bead to, reminisce over their marriage. So you're talking about at least 4 or 5 that I could think of. And I'm sure there was more, but those are probably the strongest ones.
Okay, all right. James has a question here.
James, thank you so much. Insights on the Odu of Obara Trupon. Obara Trupon, Obara Tutunini Adifafun Olokon. So my babango of Ifa was Obara Tumu, or Obara Trupon. His name was Ernesto Cruz Matamoros, right? Also known as El Omoni. He was Awakwa, he was a Palero, he had Crown Shango, and he was Babalawo. He was Obara Tumu. I know this all doing well. Obara Tumu was actually the first Odu where the melon was offered to Olokun. And Olokun was looking for something to nourish him or her, depending how you look at it. And basically it was identified that it should try something new based on its deficiencies. And when it ate the melon, it felt very good. So that's why till this day you see the watermelon offered to Olokun with such prevalence. And that Odu ethics are very important, making sure that as a man, we're never alone with somebody else's kids. We're never alone with somebody else's wife, that we maintain very ethical and, plausible behavior. And then apart from that, be very careful with skin conditions, because that's also the Odu of the tick. Why dogs have ticks and why they bite themselves and things of that nature. So just a couple points. But, of course, Odu interpretation sessions are always available if we ever want to go more in depth. But 3 key points from that Odu.
Okay, let's take a break to spitball some ideas for the membership. Let's ask the people, hey, what are some things that you would like to see in a membership program? If you're watching right now, what are some things that you guys would want Joseph to offer?
I think that's fabulous. Guys,
Yeah.
What is it that you want from us? Because, we can have the basic stuff. Hey, merch. Hey, some discounts. But, do you guys want to be able to be behind the scenes at a recording? Do you want to...
Private shows.
Do you want private viewings? Do you want, material before it's released? Do you want exclusive material? Because even one of the things we're thinking about doing is, only having certain episodes for people in certain tiers. As we move forward in the channel, we're going to have all
lots
those
more
benefits.
Lots more content.
Lots more content, shorts, things that you specifically want. Maybe you want a whole video on Obara Trupon. We can make that happen, but these are all things that, we have the basic, template and interesting things, but we want to make sure that we're providing with you what you want as you invest in our vision. So definitely be sure to leave that in the comments as well.
Yeah, please leave it in the comments. We love to hear any type of feedback, because I want to implement it.
Yeah, because really we're delving into uncharted territory. You look at some of these other podcasts, basic things that they're doing, but there really hasn't been an Ifa podcast like us. So, with all of the other elements that Ifa comes with, whether it's services, whether it's philosophy, whether it's information, these are all things that we can incorporate, but we want to make sure we're giving you what you want, because, to me, if somebody just talks to me about a pataki all day, I freak out, because I'm a babalao. I like all that boring stuff. You know what I'm saying?
That's just what people want. They want to learn how to sing.
Oh, we can do that. No, shout out to Trini Regan. Hey, mi hala, bendiciones. Boru. Definitely, we can do songs. We can do all those things. Luckily, that was really the first thing I learned how to do.
Yeah.
Was the musical aspect of things, because when you're uninitiated, you're trying to find out any way to delve into this culture as well as this material. And the songs are a very public thing. Actually finding translations, that might be something else, because, that's very guarded information, especially within Lukumi, because there's a lot of old context within our, liturgical, praise and music that you can't find, so that's other value that we can provide, where when we do a song class of any kind, we're going to translate everything for you. You're going to know exactly what it is that you're singing. And that's very key, because you see a lot of singers now at the drummings, they'll just sing top 40, and then the Orisha comes down and he's like, you don't even know what you're singing. And I've seen that happen. So you definitely want to avoid that, and we can definitely help you with that based on our experience.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that what was I going to say? I totally forgot what I was going to say, because all these chats just came in, they went poof.
They poofed you.
Yeah, here we go. Here, let's get more in-depth information.
More in-depth information about Odu based on Guardian Angel. Yeah, so when you think about it, right, Nadia, and that's a great suggestion as well. Let's say right now, within Lukumi Ifa, there's 16 main Guardian Orishas, right? Multiply 16 by 256. That's how many episodes we'd have to come out with.
Oh, my gosh.
Because you'd have to then delve into each Odu and see, okay, for example, Eyobe, what did Shango do? Obeyekun, Obewenye, Obedi, Oberosum, blah, 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 blah. So it can get very intense. So definitely what we can incorporate, just to make sure we're actually hitting on your specific combination, because we're talking about thousands of possibilities, we can definitely take that into account and be like, okay, let's do an episode on this, based on that. Like, that would be really top tier stuff. Like, let's say in the top tier we have set amount of people and they're like, yo, these are our specific cases. Let's get it,
I do want to point out, I do think we should thank everybody, because you have had tremendous growth on your page. This past 3 months, it's been unbelievable.
I think it's gone up like 4,000.
Yeah.
Where we had like 5, I think, when we started.
Yeah.
And we're almost at 10,000 people. So thank you so much, guys, for letting people know about the channel. The most gratifying part is that when you guys refer our channel to someone, they let us know. And they're like, we're so happy that said person referred us to this, because we're getting real value. My biggest thing with references and referrals is, if I'm getting referred or I'm referring somebody, I want to make sure they make me look good. So it's nice to know that we're making you guys look good out there in your circles as well, because really we just want people to have clarity to be able to practice the best way they can.
Okay, let's get back to the Q&A here. Okay.
Nice.
All right.
Can you talk about Owani Ogunda, Owonring Ogunda? Music Lover 29, thank you. Owonring Ogunda is also known as Owani Dawang, right? And what happened here is that every time someone would say Owani Ogunda, Ogun would become frustrated. So he's like, I don't want to hear that, because when they would say that phrase, it would bother him. Where Owani Dawang has to be very careful with the way they express themselves, because they could say one thing and people can understand another. Definitely based on tone. So Rumila renamed Owonring Ogunda Owani Dawang, right? And it was much more acceptable to Ogun, because when he would hear his name within Owani Ogunda's name, he would become frustrated and bellicose. So therefore, that's where that comes from. So Owani Ogunda or Owani Dawang has to be very careful with confrontation, how they're interacting with people. It's also the only Odu that went to war with the Mejis and survived. So when we're talking about the Mejis, we're talking about the first 16 kings of Ifa. And they were frustrated with Owani Dawang, because he was a very powerful guy, but he always minded his business. So they were always sending witchcraft to him and whatnot. And he had to do a ritual at his front door with a said powder to be able to defend himself from all his enemies. So anybody that has Owani Dawang in their mano orula or his babalawo, there's a special powder that's prepared there so that when people send you witchcraft, which unfortunately is part of your destiny, you can defend yourself, because Owani Dawang is a conflictive Odu.
All right, just a side note here. We got some love. This is a fantastic podcast.
Miss Lotus, thank you so much. We do our best.
Yeah, and she says she learns a lot from the podcast too. So
that's huge. I mean, I think even we learn just doing it, because
I do. Yeah, by proxy. I think it's great. She also says that we need a longer. This may be part of the membership tiers.
Yeah, 2-hour lives, 3-hour lives, all-day lives. We need more food, though.
Absolutely.
We need more food. We might need a cigar there, too, just to be able to ride out the
That's
time.
what I'm saying. We need to get rid of the table.
Yeah, we need the couch.
Put some nice chairs there. Want some thoughts? Yeah. What do you guys want? A set you want to have?
If you want Baba to smoke a cigar while talking Ifa, I could do this. If you want this Orula hat on every episode, I'll do whatever you guys
You should
want.
give it away.
Oh man, I gotta wash it first. The poor thing. I'll have it on for 5 hours. You know, this long hair.
All right, here we go. Next question here.
Of course. Yvonne, thank you so much. My guardian angel is Odudua. Congratulations. Can you speak on Ofunsa? This is a great place to learn our religion. Thank you and blessings. Well, thank you, Miss Yvonne. Ofunsa omo ifa omo olorun omo ifa boni barabani de gunga difa fungo badala. So Ofunsa is somebody that was destined to practice this spirituality. No questions asked. It's a very blessed Odu. It's one of the Odus that actually visited Olofing's house, right? If somebody was a male, I'd definitely say if they had the prerequisites, they're meant for Ifa initiation. No question asked, especially being a child of Odua. If we're speaking about a feminine case, it's saying that the person is meant to practice Ifa. So what would happen there is the person has to identify how they want to initiate into Odua. Do you want to initiate into Oshanla, which is what would occur here in the Lukumi context until further notice when we actually start crowning people Odudua again? Or are we finding any Sheshe priests to be able to help us through that process? Because Odua is still very heavily and commonly initiated into in Yoruba land. So Funsa is a beautiful Odu. Wear a lot of white, have good spiritual hygiene, and be very careful with gossip or people spying on you, because that's the Odu of the monkey.
Question for you about that. How do you have a good spiritual hygiene?
Making sure you're getting your annual readings, making sure you're following the taboos in your sign, making sure you're keeping up with your habits with your orishas. So when I talk about hygiene spiritually, because just on a daily basis, we could pick up a bunch of negativity. You know, you stand on the wrong four corners or you walk past the wrong, storefront. Y'all need a Blackstone grill. Is he talking about my teeth?
We need the big grill that you cook on.
Like just barbecuing
Yes.
for an hour? I'm all with that, man. Chris, that's awesome. I like a good tomahawk ribeye.
Well, yeah, you were talking about spiritual hygiene. Sorry,
Yeah,
I had to throw that up there.
No, but that's important. But yeah, things like that, like keeping up to date with your orishas, because you can't expect the orishas to keep you clean if you don't keep them attended to.
Wow.
So that's very key in that Odu.
I got an idea for one of our tiers, and then you guys listening can kind of give us a thumbs up, or a like on that one. How about, for the higher tiers, we can have like a select group. They can actually be in the chat with you virtually. So how we have some interviews that people aren't here. Maybe if they have some questions, we can have like a group of 5.
Yeah.
They can come in and interact, have like a round table.
Yeah.
Interact with all of them as well.
I love that because it gets very lonely up here. To be frank with you, I love sharing the stage. I'm not a stage hog at all. It's always nice to have company, I tell you, because it's just me and Orula most of the time. Like he's very ominously looking at me with his one eye. God bless him.
Yeah.
All
right, so we got someone from New York.
Yay, I'm from NYC, originally from Ecuador. Yay, really appreciate this time. Yes, I like the cigar smoking while teaching. LOL. And we're coming out with the cigar episode. We're looking at a couple different options for that, sponsors and whatnot. But the cigar plays a very important role in Ifa. People have tried to dispute whether tobacco was present in Africa. There's actually a very well-known wrapper for cigars known as the Cameroon wrapper, which is actually grown very popularly in the country of Cameroon in Africa. So Rumila was a cigar smoker. He believed in the power of the tobacco and all the blessings and inspiration that it brought. So that's why even at the table of Ifa, when we come out with the episode, we're going to explain why the Babalaos have cigars at the table and why it's utilized in so many ceremonies. So awesome idea.
All right, here we go. Another question here. Boop.
Mystery, thank you. Why is the colors of Lukumi, yellow and green, different from Africa? Awesome. Here we go. So when we talk about the Ileke Fa, right, which is the necklace of Ifa, there's a couple Odus that it's born in. You have the Odu Owonring Meji or Owani Meji, and another Odu that speaks of it is Odileke, right? What it represents is life and death. We're talking about a pact between life, which was Orula and Orisha, and death, right? So, which was ultimately the representative color of the brown, right? So what happened here is originally the necklaces of Ifa were strung with palm leaves, right? When the palm leaves are alive, they're green. but when they die, they turn brown or yellow, right? So that's where that ultimately came from. People say that in the Odu of Odileke, the original beads of Orisha were actually dried insects and worms that turned different colors that they would string, or it was beans or different little pieces, types of like palm fruit and things like that they would confection. So that's where the green and brown comes, and that's why it's on the right side in Isheshe, because the right hand is Otumni Oba, which is the hand of the king, which is the hand of power. We, in the Lukumi tradition, are very Ibadan-centric with this concept of the green and yellow. Because in Ibadan, as well as Oshobo, it speaks of the unity that occurred between Orumila as well as Oshun. And to commemorate their marriage, Orumila provided the green and Oshun provided the yellow beads. And that's why, being that they're very Oshun-centric in, Oshobo and Ibadan and whatnot, that's why even in Africa, you see them wearing green and yellow beads as well. So that's kind of where you see the differences.
Okay, we got another request for the membership tier here, so we want translations.
Translations on the membership would be lit. Love how you broke down those songs. Nice. Street Tuber, thank you. Yeah, I mean, translations from the Cubaneo as far as the Cuban Spanish, like we can definitely do that, and definitely with the Yoruba, we can do that as well. So for sure, that way we can clarify things, and maybe we can even provide like in the description, like, hey, these were the words that weren't English today. This is what they mean, and maybe even delve into like popular concepts, like, a bigger thing.
All right, someone's got a question about their year in white.
Awesome. Chris, I'm doing my year in white this coming Friday. Do you have any advice for any Yawo? Give up, Chris. God bless you. Just kidding. I'd say start preparing now. Start living your Yaworaje now. Not super strict, but stop going out. Start using hypoallergenic things. Start wearing long sleeves. Start, because it's kind of like with the gym or a diet. If you wait till the same day, you're going to fail. So the Yaworaje is very important, and I think a good Yaworaje set up the stage for my religious career, because when I finished my Yaworaje, I had no idea where I got the money from Ifa from. It just popped up. Things started going better, and I think it was because I fulfilled with my Orisha in my case. So start now. Be very clear with your elders what they expect from you. Have the rules written down. Look over them once a week, because it's a lot of information. The Yaworaje in itself is an initiation and ultimately a lifestyle. And enjoy it, because when it's done, you're going to miss it. Congratulations.
All right. Any recommended books?
Odus Baba 2020, thank you. Yeah, ifalinks.com and any of the stuff we put out on the channel. Unfortunately, I haven't really been able to read other pieces of literature that I can guarantee you guys 100%. And one of the things that frustrated me when I started studying what's commonly out there was I had to unlearn a lot and I had to sift through a lot. When I read something, I want to be able to just digest it. So either reach out to your elders if you need more eclectic information, especially on your sign, so that you're not guessing, because, we only have so many neurons and we don't want to waste them on misinformation.
Cool. All right. Someone appreciates your knowledge and teachings. Can you speak on Obara?
Obara.
Sorry.
Awesome. Vanessa, you speaking the word Obara, I'm going to imagine you're speaking in the Dilogun context, right? Obara is actually the word for the melon, right? Iso Obara. So Obara literally makes reference to this fruit. That's why if you notice, I forgot who asked for it earlier, they asked about Obara Tumu. And Obara Tumu is also an Odu that speaks of the melon, and ironically, it's from the Obara family. So the first thing Obara says is that whatever Orisha revealed that for you in Ita, they want watermelon, right? Or your Orishas in general, you know what I'm saying? And that really reflects upon prosperity, good saving habits, etc. When we translate the name Obara, it means the king of the land. So Ifa says that the person has to conduct themselves in a very regal fashion, because they're going to be scrutinized, judged, and basically watched, right? This is an Odu that, even though a lot of people think it has solely to do with Shango, this is actually one of the Odus within the Dilogun where Orumila manifests. And even though you're never going to see an Adifafung within, the Orisha divination, Orumila does manifest here, even though they're not necessarily marking things for him. So it's saying immediately the person has a very strong link to Ifa and has to pay very close attention to their Ifa icon, because even by way of their Orisha initiation, Orumila is saying, don't forget about me.
People are commenting on Christian wanting to do his year in white.
Shout out to Christian, yeah.
It's memory foam on the ground.
Oh wow, that's spicy, yeah.
And start sleeping on the floor.
Oh man, shout out to Queen. That's a lot of spice, man. You know, some good wholesome fun from the elders there. But yeah, man, hit the deck, man. I remember, I'll never forget when I was going through my Yawarah, and we don't do it that strict. Like we don't want to, you know, we don't do this. But I'll never forget, there was a lady that had like 80 years, right? And she was like crowned for like 65 of them or something like that. And you know, I'm taking care of myself. You know, my clothes weren't cheap, so I'm like, yo, I'm carrying my mat with me. I remember I pulled out the mat and threw myself. She let me have it, man. She's like, oh, the Yawos now, they're with their mat. You need to hit the floor. And, you know, needless to say, my godmother took the mat away. We don't do that. You know, if you have your mat and you're going through a year in white, please open it. Please preserve this clothing because it has to last you a year. Just, you know who you're throwing yourself in front of, because I tell you, that was an uncomfortable experience. But, you know, definitely hit the deck, man. Get ready.
All right. Let's start wrapping up here because it's almost 8 o'clock. But let's
really?
Yeah. How much is for the Hand of Ifa ceremony?
Perry, great question. That really depends on the person that you're inquiring about it with. You know, I've seen Hand of Ifas go as high as $3,000. I've seen Hand of Ifas go as little as $500. You know, it's like anything. It really depends on the person you're receiving it with, the complexity of the ceremony they're performing for you, and the value you put in it. You know, what I've noticed being on this side of the counter is that, you know, people don't have an issue with investing. They just want to make sure what they're receiving is legitimate, authentic, and well done. So as long as you can guarantee it's well done, as long as you can, you know, corroborate the reputation of the professional providing it for you in that group, the price depends on them and what their value is, you know, because everybody's at different stages. You have people with huge followings who are trying to find time to fit a Hand of Ifa in, and you have people who are just starting out, you know, that are trying to build up that foundation within their spiritual house. So it can really vary, but I've seen it fluctuate, you know, all of that.
All right, this question from Richard.
Rich, anything about the spiritual dolls? They come up in the misas, but I've always been interested in how that works with Ifa, or if
it was different.
The spiritual dolls are great. I mean, when we talk about Africa, it's an existential philosophy. There's a lot of icons. The dolls basically replace the wooden carvings, you know, so dolls are great. Sometimes they have secrets within them. Sometimes they don't. It's not obligatory all the time. It really depends on that spirit. So as you delve into the white table, or you delve into Palo, or even into your Odu of Ifa, you're going to get more clarity on things like that. But for example, I still have mine. You know, even before I was a Babalawo, I was in Espiritismo to a certain degree. I still have all my muertos in their corner. I think I just saw one right now at the corner of my eye, you know, and, you know, everybody's still attended to. So it doesn't change. It's like Ifa says, you never leave a good friend behind. So perfectly legitimate.
All right. This is going to be one of our last questions here. Let's say 2 more questions. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. It's from Street Tuber.
Street Tuber, once again, I was talking to an Isheshe Baba, and he said they can send a Botu Orisha without having the icon through King Ifa or the ground. Is there a practice like this in Lukumi? What I can express is that there is a saying within Lukumi. It's known as Ifawa, which means Ifa moves forward, Ifa progresses, or Ifa does not detain itself. So, you know, when our ancestors came over from Africa and they didn't have necessarily the icons or the materials to be able to confection, they knew how to interact with nature in a way where they could still accomplish their goals.
Okay, this isn't the question. It's just a comment. You know, they're just saying, cannot wait to do the membership program.
Oh, man, Rich, thank you so much for your consistent support. Definitely greatly appreciated. We can't wait to come out with it.
Okay, and last question here.
Oh, man.
All right.
Magical Flowers Tarot, thank you. Can you tell me about the meaning of the Odu Odibara? Odibara says the dog has 4 legs and takes 1 path, right? And I think this is a great way to kind of finish out the live as well. And what happened here is an Odibara was where the dog came down from heaven. And before leaving, it was advised by way of this Odu to perform sacrifice so it would have unparalleled mobility. And it performed the Ebo. But when it arrived on Earth, divination was done again with the same Odu, where Ifa told him to perform sacrifice so that he would never get lost or confused. The dog, having 4 legs, said that's impossible. I have 4, measures of protection against that possibility. So one day he arrived at a 4 corners, and he stood in the middle of the 4 corners and put each of his legs in a different direction. And Elegua, being on the corner, said, "Man, you look like a fool right now." And the dog barked at him and said, "Who the hell are you?" And he said, I'm just the guy telling you the truth." He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I don't know where to go, so I'm trying to go in all different directions." And he said, "How's that going for you?" He says, "I'm going nowhere fast." He said, "I did this to you because you chose not to listen to Orula. Do the ebo, and I'll be able to tell you the secret to life." The dog performed the ebo, and when he came back to the 4 corners, Elegua said, "Which way do you think you should go?" He said, "Well, maybe I should go back." He said, "There's no point in that. You already know what's there. Maybe I should go left or right." And he said, "I mean, you can see that there's nothing there either." Well, he said, "I can't see what's going forward either." And he said, "But you know what you want to achieve in that direction, obviously, because that's why you were going there originally. The secret to life is we don't get distracted. We don't allow anything to interrupt us from achieving and attaining our goals and ambitions." So the dog immediately realized the best way is forward. And that's why when you look at a dog doesn't turn. He just keeps going straight. So Odibara says, know yourself, know what you want, know where it is, and just start walking, whether it's Ifa, whether it's life, anything. And that's a message for everybody, stay focused.
Nice. Do you want to, we can probably take phone calls too. You know that, right? We can do that eventually, I think we should do that with our membership tier.
Yeah.
Allow people to call in.
Yeah.
Ask their questions. We got all the tools here.
Or they can pop up on the screen.
Yeah.
We can invite them in. I think that'll be awesome.
And we'll start having a schedule.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes we're just like, let's go live.
Yeah, right. No, we're definitely, when we come out with the memberships, we're definitely going to have a schedule and be definitely accountable, because, people are enjoying this and we're having some great combos.
Yeah. People love it. I think these lives and interactions are fantastic because I'm just learning a lot myself. Just from
you're half a Bawala already, brother. We got to get you in the room, yo.
I got to do my year in white, right? I got to sit on the floor.
Yeah,
right?
we got to jump you in, Like, don't be a menace. You get jumped in,
Okay. Wow. Well, guys, if you did like this episode, please put a 1 in the comments. We love to disrupt the algorithm.
Smash the
that's
1.
That's how you're growing, man.
Yeah.
Because people are sharing your stuff, people are liking on the stuff, people are commenting on it, and just like you said, there isn't really much podcast or live shows that do what you do. So if you guys are watching, please share this with a friend, share it with someone who doesn't know what Ifa is, and kind of just see what their first reactions are.
Yeah, and it might resonate with them. And shout out to all the other podcasts and people talking about Ifa, but the way we break it down and we provide it, we've heard feedback over and over again. This is where they come to find that kind of quality. So it's just a matter of staying consistent. And guys, couple things, botanicacandlesandmore.com is up and running. Mentorship programs, products, readings, whatever it is that you desire, you can coordinate it through there. Be sure to check out the podcast if you're unable to on YouTube, on all major platforms where it's available. Subscribe, definitely comment and share. And, from all of us here at Our Roots, see the light. Thank you.